Afternoon guys, James here from Sunseeker Southampton, and join me today for episode number 3 in the refit series on the Sunseeker 28 Metre Yacht here in Hythe. So behind me here, project's moved on since we first took the engines out about 3 weeks ago now. Guys are working to remove the teak deck, which is a very labour intensive manual task to strip back from the flybridge down through all the decks. And they're going through some of the mechanical systems on the boat. We've since pulled the generators out since I did the video, and they're just starting work now to tidy up the engine room, moving wiring and pumps etc. before they paint that through and start to fit the new systems in. As part of her inspection process, some of the systems have to be inspected by RENA, who are one of the certifying authorities for larger yachts such as this. So we have to pull the shafts out, so you can see here where the P brackets and the rudders are. So the guys are just taking out the old cutlass bearings, which are basically a bronze tube with rubber in, which is what the shaft runs through. So they're having to build some tools up, so each boat is slightly different size and shape, so get those out today. You can see the stabilisers on the floor here have now been dropped off the hull. And we'll have a look inside in a minute where the access is for those under the floor. So they're going to change all the bearings in the units here and turn them back into a fully refurbed system. So the boat will have a full machine polish on the hull here before she goes back in. Obviously you can see we're inside this ginormous shed with a whole row of super yachts alongside us in various stages of being painted and having mechanical works done pre-season. It's a busy shed. This is actually the dock, so they go down here, and then at high tide the bomb trolley takes you down into the water on this dock system here. They can move the yachts along. It's a very clever process. You can see them all tented off behind us here. So let's head up on board and take a close look round. So if we have a look here on the bathing platform, guys are just on a quick tea break, so took an opportune time to have a look around. You can see the teak decking is laid on sheets with an epoxy underneath, so stuck down well. It shows how well the guys did a job of installing it from new at the factory, and it literally is a case of a mallet and chisel and a little bit with a router to take all of that off back to the bare fiberglass underneath. So still got some epoxy on here, which they'll sand back off with an aggressive sander prior to levelling up, ready to put the new teak on in due course. So you see they've been well at it. They've got some of the cockpits done here as well. The majority of this all being replaced, of course, new upholstery, tables and lighting, panels in the ceiling, what have you. So no need really to cover things over at this stage out here. Big change on the top here. You'll see that all the guardrails that normally run along the top here have been removed, as we're going to change all the teak capping rails on the top here. Obviously the advantage of being in the shed is they're not held up by bad weather. We've had fortunately a few nice days where they can pull the boat out earlier this week to get the generators out, but she will mainly stay in the shed now until the majority of the outdoor works are finished. So this is the new capping rails, which will be going around the top of the decks here. You can see lots of stainless steel tubing, what have you, been removed. And a lot of work still for the guys. There's about five guys up here every day on the teak works alone, just to keep progress on that. And let's head inside here through the patio doors to see how different she is since we were last on board. So this is where effectively the engines came out of. So she's not quite dropped back in flush, but this is a central hatch here down onto the engine room, and we'll head down there in a bit just to see below. And then that access hatch above is dropped back into place. You can see effectively how that's all built in from factory to allow us to do the works that we've undertaken thus far. There was a curved structure up in the roof here, which was Obviously curves have moved around more into straight lines, so we've removed that, and there'll be new lighting running around all of the ceiling recesses there. There's new LED strip lights, all new panels. These are all on fast mount, so which means they unclip very easily, so serviceability to get in for systems, wiring runs, plumbing, etc. Very straightforward. But yeah, there'll be brand new materials to go with the new sofas, the new floors. So we've got a mixture of wood and carpet to go down on the new floors in here once the furnishings are all in. This is an upside down engine cradle hangs above the one of the engines down in the bay below us for storing equipment on, and the other one's used as a workbench there at the moment. So the guys are actually going to build in the aft end of the saloon here. They're going to build a workshop to carry out all the fitting of panels. You can do some things off the boat, but it's a lot easier generally on refit work to produce these things on the boat, as no two structures, given it's all made by hand, very slight tolerance differences around the boat, and it's a lot easier to do continuous little trial fits as you go. So all things like the bulkhead linings being changed, they have actually done these are all new panels that have just been finished in the galley ceiling here. So they're back in position, they're just marking out to fit, drop them back down, and they'll fit some further lighting to those in due course. We have a screen coming, so for privacy there'll be a screen on the back of the main deck sort of servery area here opposite the galley, so that also gives privacy for the captain if running at night, just so he doesn't have the distraction of guests entertaining back in the saloon area. And then coming forward into the bridge itself, this will all be new navigation equipment, just in the process with the captain here today going through the tech package and what they choose to put on going forward. Then we come down, so split accommodation, both in the bow here is the VIP guest cabin. You can see things like the loos have been removed to be replaced. Forward cabin here, so we'll keep a lot of the woodwork, but new ceiling panels, new lighting, some detail materials. So majority of fittings will be reused, but things like the AV system, it'll have brand new TVs and new 4G router system, etc. So I say the guys are very careful in how they work. Mixture of us doing some of the interior lining work, and some of it's been done by the owner's actual interior designers. So we're working together in partnership to create the look that they want to achieve in the end. Obviously things like carpets on the floor here all being replaced, but if we come down we can check out where the stabilisation sits from within the boat. So these are the access holes onto the top where there's the bearings and the actual drive system that controls the actuation of the stabilisers themselves. So that's under one of these sliding, what would normally be sliding twin beds under here. So that's all going to be replaced. Floors, so we've got new stone going into the bathrooms here, and we're also working on some new linings for the shower compartments themselves. So things like the drop down TV that was up in the ceiling, so that's all being replaced. So messy stage to see a boat like this, but I think it's important just to understand how they're created. So everything is by hand, very labour intensive to put a boat together. Hundreds of thousands of man hours combined from the various systems and the gel coats, the resin layups and what have you. Taking them all apart again, whilst the systems are designed as such, the accessibility is in there. You know, you can see here in the back of the TV system how it's set up. Equally, there is the necessity of some destructive works to get materials and what have you out. You can see here the shower system's been removed as we're putting new wall linings in. She's really going to be something else when she's finished. So about, where are we now? We're about 8 weeks into the initial programme of works. Everything's going to plan. Obviously with the challenges of COVID and finding access to materials and what have you. Gives us our own headaches to deal with, but the guys have got a multitude of different sources for most equipment, so not too bad. We'll have a look up on the Flybridge as well, just to see how that looks with the hatchback in place. So here's the central hatch that drops down into the saloon below. For the engine access, you can see now they've cleaned all the epoxies off the top here as well, so this is now back to basically the almost finished deck. Just a couple of little bits to tidy up here around where the wet bar module here, that was all sat on this side originally, so the Flybridge Teak won't be too long and they can start working on that. Just like working your way through a house renovation, you've got to be able to see the end goal. Obviously a lot of work involved here and a lot of expense that the owner's going to get the end result that they want to achieve in the end. But obviously a lot of the finish on the yacht itself is the cosmetic stuff that you see, that's the last 5–10%. So really it's the behind the scenes machinery and mechanical system work that we're undertaking at the moment that's where the big expense is, before we get back to the stones and the soft furnishings and what have you. So in the stern section here we've got the crew cabin. So we come forward into the engine room that looks a little different since we last saw it from this kind of angle. So these are where the generators sat in, both on the starboard and then one opposite on the port side. So those are in the process of being refurbished and maybe replaced in the end. So guys, again, lift a lot of the wiring and the plumbing, pump system, what have you, will come out to allow us to then tidy up and paint through the floors. They'll replace things like the sound insulation up here on the panels, servicing things like the air conditioning system, the hydraulic stabilizer system, the water maker, having a new water maker fitted. Amazing how much space there is inside here, and also how quiet it sounds. You can really appreciate the level of sound deadening in here compared to a regular sort of void of this size. So there you have it. So just a brief look around today, just to check out the progress, and we'll check back down here probably in the next sort of two or 3 weeks time, once they've got the shafts ready to go back in. Hopefully all that teak will be off and we can see what she's like in her sort of bare state before they start putting new parts in. Hope you've enjoyed that. So if you'd like to know any more, of course, email is james@sunseekersouthampton.com or mobile +44 7747 686 587. Hope you've enjoyed that and we look forward to hearing from you.